Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Crossword Essential 101. My name is Chris, and today joining me we have,
Daniel.
Keelan.
and we're going to be watching the rest of the Kwity Paye film with you guys today. Unfortunately, we were having some issues with my audio during part 1. Repeated issues with my audio during part 1. So we're going to have to do this in a 2-part segment. And yeah, so this is going to be part 2 of that video. And unfortunately, Sam had to depart, so he's not going to be able to join us for the second game. But we do have a second game to go over with you guys, and hopefully my audio will actually keep working, and we'll be able to go over grades, full thoughts, and everything that happened at the end of the Minnesota game as well. So, transitioning into the second game while we wait for this to load, I'll let you guys cover what you guys saw from the first game that we watched versus Minnesota in part 1.
Sure, I'll go first here. I really loved his hand usage. He's in my opinion, an elite pass rusher. He has a good usage of counter moves, and he in his pass rush, he really reminds me of Chase Young. Obviously, a guy who went number 2 overall last year for a good reason. But what my main flaw was he was honestly he struggled a lot against the run, and that was my main issue for him.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think that he has. I like the fact that he was seen to have really good burst off the line, really good hand usage. Like Keelan said, shocks linemen with his punch, which I really like to see. Very athletic, high motor, always looking for the ball. Like Keelan said, he can struggle a little bit in run defense, particularly giving up the leverage battle and losing the positioning battle, and just overall, just needs to tighten that up and get to his landmarks in run defense. But like overall, I think this kid's got everything he needs to be successful from a physical standpoint. It's just a matter of getting him to tighten up a few things.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So with that
And
being
just to
said,
add, can I just add one quick thing?
Mhm.
I really think he's a really good speed to power guy. A lot of pass rushers you take are really either bendy or strictly power. But I think this guy has a really good mix. He can blend that in an elite way. And I really think he has an extremely high upside. And I'm really excited to see where he goes. And at the end of last video, when you were starting to get kind of staticky, you brought up the Seahawks as a fit. And I'm really intrigued. But I think this kid can play in a lot of situations, so I think he's pretty scheme versatile. Anyways, that's over. I'm ready to get into the next.
Sweet. So yeah, here we have the second game that we're going to watch with you guys, hopefully out of 3. And this is going to be the Penn State game from this year. Kwity Paye is going to be number 19, and you'll often see him lined up opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Though I don't think he's actually playing in this game, so we'll see how that goes. The other thing that neither of you guys, at least unless I'm forgetting, mentioned at the beginning, is the motor element. Did either of you guys talk about that?
I think Daniel
I
mentioned
talked
it.
about it.
Okay.
Ooh, go back to that play.
I don't think that was him.
Oh, it's not him. Okay.
And
It's really difficult.
I don't think the one before him was either. Yeah, I don't think that is either. Because that looks like a 91
Yeah,
and not a
Maybe he
19.
changed numbers mid-season.
no. The name's too long to be Paye, anyways.
There he is.
Yep. Nice, Chad. I really like his mixture of I don't know if I want to call it moveset, but he's able to win in different ways. He's able to counter inside. He's able to, you know, rush around. What the hell was that? Rush around the end. And he's just been able. He's extremely versatile. Is the word I'm going to use.
The other thing that's really interesting is Daniel brought up earlier the get off. And it's going to be real interesting because it looks like he's actually going to get off relatively slowly, but his first step, his explosion, and his burst is going to more than make up for that difference. So watch how he, like, see at this point in the play, all three of these other guys are already getting off, and he is not even attempting to get out of his stance. Like, even now at this point, all three of these guys are out of their stance entirely. He's still handing it. So his get off isn't even really what's all that impressive in terms of timing the snap count. But what's going to be really impressive is how quickly he makes up this ground. And he just covers that difference so quickly. And part of it is because the offensive tackle is accounting for his speed. So this particular snap might not be the best example of that. But you really do get to see him you utilize that athleticism even more than just the actual timing the snap and get off element.
For sure.
That motoring effort is beautiful. Oh man. Okay, a little bit of physicality. Is he just me, or does he look a lot smaller than 270?
Yeah, he does look rather lean. I'm excited to see what he weighs in. If he, obviously there's not a real official combine this year, but I'm sure he'll be going to Michigan's Pro Day, so I'm excited to see what he weighs in at.
He
I
looks
don't think
close.
size.
He looks closer to me to like a 250, like a jack size.
Yeah.
I do like him more than I did Uche, though, and I was actually relatively high on Uche.
Yeah, I was pretty high on Uche too. I think I had a second round grade on him.
I think I had him in the third after the Senior Bowl.
Nice.
We're seeing him get driven back a little bit more in this game than we did in the Minnesota game so far. And there's the run D showing up. So we talked about this in the first video, but for those of you guys who missed it and didn't get the chance to watch the first one, or maybe my audio was cutting out at that point already, no idea when that started. One thing that we talked a little bit about was Kwity Paye's gap integrity is the technical phrase for it. I didn't say that in the first video, but that's what I was alluding to. Is his gap integrity. And this play is a perfect example of that, where he is in some ways accountable for the outside run with the quarterback, but he completely loses this inside leverage.
Yep. Misdiagnosis of play.
So that's probably, I would say, by far his biggest issue
Oh, for sure.
concern.
Without a doubt.
And yeah, like even on this play, like he's not going to be the last guy, like blatantly obvious, like it was the one snap. But yeah, like at this point in the play, you can tell he's not really like the two defensive tackles are already essentially out of the stance. Now the bottom guy is not, and he's not even moving. So this is, like I said, Kwity Paye is not the last guy here. But what's going to end up happening is you're going to see the burst of explosiveness make up for his lack of get off. And what it does, and like yeah, see like the nose tackle is literally already engaged. But what you're going to see is you're going to see him, and as Keelan hinted earlier, that speed to power, and it results in that drive. Plus, he also has some pretty good raw strength, just in general, and that power, as Keelan I believe also mentioned earlier, which helps. I'm not robotic to you guys anymore, am I?
Nope.
Okay, because I'm echoing really bad now.
Oh, that sucks. Alright, we can't hear it. Well, I can't.
I can't hear it either.
Okay, then it's good on the recording. So it should be fine.
Should we go back to normal speed?
Yes, so I just wanted to show again. What were you saying, Keelan?
I just said there's that hand usage again.
Yeah, so you really get to see the hand usage here and his ability to keep himself free, but you also really get to see how that plays and the counter at the end. You also really get to see how important that is with that get off. So while I do see that there are some potential issues with lack of bend, for me personally, I don't really put too much emphasis on that aspect.
Right.
Especially when you have the athletic ability and the burst and the explosiveness and the change of direction, even more so that Paye has displayed throughout the two games. Nice, good discipline. And yeah, it just gets out of place a little bit. And he whiffs on the tackle. But I like the way that Daniel phrased it earlier, where he definitely has the physical tools. You're seeing the athleticism, you're seeing the power, you're seeing the strength, you're seeing the physicality, and you're also seeing some of the mental traits as well. You're seeing the motor, the energy, the effort, the mental toughness, the variance, the ability to vary moves, win a variety of ways against a variety of different players, inside, outside, left side, right side, center, guard, tackle, etc., depending on the situation and, in some cases, the quarterback. So you're really getting to see some of those mental elements as well. It's really just about tightening up some of the inefficiencies and potential flaws that could impact him at the NFL level that really need to kind of be sorted out.
Yeah.
Nice.
But like on day one, he's going to be a good pass rusher, I feel like.
Yeah. I like him a lot more than I did Julian Okwara, for example.
Oh yeah.
I thought Okwara would be a relatively good pass rusher. Nice stunt move. You really get to feel for the change of direction with these stunts. Because he's just going to shift right inside and beat the guard before he even knows where he is. Yeah, just gets caught up.
Nice.
Okay, so I'm going to try and leave the Skype call real quick to see if I can fix this echoing ear rape. And I'll be right back while I explain my thoughts on this game.
Sure.
So basically, for me, my personal recognition from what I was able to tell is I actually really liked his pass rushing, like we talked about. But I also get to see a little bit of the room for improvement in the run game too, because you really get a feel for the active hands, the motor, the mental traits, and all those types of elements that really go into projecting the run game, and the potential improvement that could come from those areas. So it's not necessarily just a does he do it, does he not do it type of element, but is he doing the things the right way that make him coachable in those areas that you can say, okay, can he do it in 2 years from now? Can he do it in 3 years from now? And those types of things. I think the answer to those questions is more so trending towards yes than no. So I don't know how much that you guys heard, but from what you did hear from that, do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I didn't hear much of it, but I'll give a bit of my personal thoughts. I'm a really big fan of his pass rushing. His run defending is going to be a big emphasis for whatever regime he's drafted into. They're definitely gonna put a emphasis on that, and I'm really excited to see where he ends up to because the sky is the limit on with this guy. He's really high upside, and I'm a really big fan.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think that he's slightly raw in aspects of the game like run defense, but I think that he's really advanced in other areas like hands on the pass rush. So it's a very interesting sort of prospect. You can say that he's really advanced in some areas and really raw in other areas. I would expect him to be a good run defender at some later point in his career, like maybe after the first year. Just because I think that he has all the tools and he clearly has the willingness to be a good run defender. It's just that he just doesn't quite understand the principles of gap integrity and whatnot. But if he can get that cleaned up in the NFL, I have no doubt that he's a top 10 talent in his class for me.
Yep, and that's definitely something that can be coached with a good defensive line coach or a good defensive coordinator.
Yep. So there's a couple of things that go into this. First is that the Michigan defense is one of the more complicated defenses in college at the collegiate level. With Don Brown being very multiple, it's kind of Patricia-esque in a way. The way that they like to utilize their defense, and we saw what that led to in Detroit. All three of us, and how that can kind of mix things up and create issues, specifically in run defense as well as coverage, but not really relevant to a pass rusher. But specifically for those gaps and and there's the linebacker play too. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens if he changes schemes and he gets a little bit more of a defined, consistent role, where it's like, okay, you're shooting the C every play, or okay, you're playing the 5 every play, or okay, we might move you from 5 to 7, but you're going to be on the left tackle all game, or okay, you might be on the left tackle all game, but we'll move you inside shoulder, outside shoulder. Those types of things. Or, oh, okay, well, we'll move you between left and right tackle, but you're going to be playing outside shoulder all game. So, like, there's different things you can do where it's like, okay, this is how we envision you playing. This is what we like about you. This is how we want to utilize you. This will help mitigate your weaknesses. Maybe the guy to your right or the guy to your left or the guy behind you will be able to help cover for some of your strengths and weaknesses. And that'll ultimately help make him successful when he gets into a team that's a little bit more team oriented, a little bit more well rounded, a little bit simpler, and all those elements. And like Daniel started to saying, like I was talking about when I was trying to fix the Skype issue, which unfortunately isn't fixed, but oh well,
Sad.
is the coachability side. And the potential for development in year 3, year 4, and if he gets taken in the first round, you'll have him for year 5, assuming the first year option gets picked up. So that potential to develop, and you have the mental traits with the motor, you have the athleticism to be able to pursue backside, you have the strength to be able to anchor, and you have the hand usage and the technical element to be able to develop shedding abilities. So it's all about just simplifying his role in that defensive assignment. And I don't want to even necessarily say mental traits, but in a way it kind of is mental traits. Because it's all about that leverage, that positioning, that deeper understanding that it's almost like I don't necessarily want to say this because this feels like an insult. That might be a bit too harsh. But it almost feels like he's been playing offensive line and he's shifted over to defense. Like it's a feel for the game thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's new to him. And he's not like adjusted like to a shift. Like Michael Parsons. Like Michael Parsons went through it when he shifted from edge to linebacker. I feel like Kwity Paye is almost doing the opposite. And like they're shifting him from linebacker to edge and he doesn't know where he's supposed to be or like what he's supposed to do or what his job is or what his role is. Like there's some sort of disconnect mentally between his gap and what he's doing. Because I think the skill set is there, it's just not clicking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I follow.
Yeah, I follow.
Cool. So you guys have anything else to add before we get into the Michigan State game? I'm assuming that the audio thing is fine on your guys' end.
Yep, it's fine on my end. I don't have really anything else to add. I think we covered it. So
It's also fine on my end, so
Ain't nothing to add?
nope.
Okay, back with the screen. Top again, I believe. Yep. Nice. Oh. So I don't know if you guys saw this the first watch through, but he's gonna be this guy here on the right tackle. And the right tackle is gonna angle him out. And the running back is just gonna slide right through. You'll see it from this angle actually better.
yeah,
So 75 is gonna be the right tackle. And Kwity Paye is gonna be the defensive left end, or the right end if you're looking at it from the offensive side. And what's going to happen is at this point in the play, he angles Kwity Paye out. That's really nice angle blocking. And he just doesn't have his eyes in the backfield. I don't know whether to call it awareness or play recognition. I mean, this play just gets driven out. He just gets washed down. Okay, top. Okay, nice quick shed. And there you go again. And this is what happens. We talked during the first part of this in the Minnesota game about the importance of containing the edge, but not giving up that positioning. And this is what happens, especially when you're playing a mobile quarterback. San Francisco, I can't tell you guys how many times the 49ers had this issue last year under Saleh. It's been a very consistent problem for San Francisco, specifically without Bosa. But even with Bosa in there, they had this issue where they just lose contain on the end, and the quarterback scramble lane wide open. And this is why coverage, in some ways, is, I don't want to say overrated because it's not, but at the same time, you also need to have disciplined pass rush. And it's why pass rushing can be overrated. Because if you're just rushing the passer, both of these guys are going to do a pretty good job because you have levels covered. So you have the underneath level of pass rush, the pocket push, covered with your two interior guys. There's no real room for him to step up into the throw, if this is a pocket throw. Okay, and then you have the other edge taking away the intermediate level, and then you have Kwity Paye taking away the deep level. That's a concept that you see a lot in the Minnesota defense, in the Mike Zimmer defense, is level pass rushing. So this is pretty good pass rushing. The problem is that you lose that disciplining assignment, and the defensive tackle is not going to catch up to a mobile quarterback. So it really just opens that run lane.
Right, but I think that's where just scout kind of comes in. Like, is this dude a mobile guy? Will he burn you like Lamar Jackson or like Pat Mahomes, or is he more of a pocket passer like Matt Ryan or Philip Rivers?
But going back to the positive, you turn around and you play like this. You have to believe he's the guy on the right tackle here. Yep. And you're going to see him draw the double, and then despite drawing the double and attracting that attention, you're still going to see that effort and that high motor come into fruition. He's going to try and get out of it to help make the play. And then, yep, just not keeping the eyes on the backfield. It's eye discipline. Takes two from side. Lets him go behind. That could have been a hold. Okay. Yes.
Ooh.
And yeah, this is what you're gonna get. It's as Keelan said earlier, it's very Chase Young-esque in terms of technique.
Yeah.
You're really seeing the hand usage, his ability to create and maximize space as a pass rusher, his ability to free himself and keep himself free. He's really got them.
And potentially draw the holding penalty.
Yeah, he is very, very good with his hands.
Yeah, and when we did that Chase video, a lot of what we were saying was negative, but it wasn't because we disliked Chase and what he did. It was more so
He was
dispelling the common narratives. But for this, he's a lot more. He's less regarded than a guy like Chase Young for good reason. Chase Young is clearly the better football player. I think that's pretty objective at this point.
Yeah, and the thing about Chase too is the run defense was there, to put it bluntly. He was a very, 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 very good run defender at Ohio State.
Yep, and I mean, he's if it hasn't been announced yet, it'll be announced this week. Obviously, defensive rookie of the year. Good
That'll
reason.
be a week from Sunday. Or no, a week from Saturday.
Really? I thought it was Pro Bowl week that it gets announced.
Nope, it's the
Or
day
that
before the
just...
Super Bowl.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
I mean, technically, if you want to be really picky, sometimes they'll leak before.
True.
So, like, it may be, like, known before the day before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like, when it becomes technically officially announced, it's the NFL Honors, which is the Saturday before the Super Bowl.
Cool.
Well, I'm assuming they're still doing that normal this year. It might be like digital.
Yeah, probably like the Heisman ceremony where it was all from their prospective campuses, but probably something like that.
Because I'm pretty sure I saw an advertisement for it last week.
Yeah, I heard something on when I was watching. I heard something about it when I was watching one of the conference championship games last weekend.
Yeah, and like it's great that you're seeing the activity level, the hustle, the motor, the energy, and stuff like that. But at times it's almost overly aggressive. And like this play, like you're gonna see him like great job getting off, not necessarily getting off the ball, like in terms of snap timing, but like great job with the burst, the first step to acceleration, yada yada, the athletic ability. Great job shooting the outside, everything like that. Like he's clearly got a path on the quarterback, and then the running back just slips in right where he was. Nice. That speaking of holding penalties, like Daniel brought up a couple minutes ago. And yeah, like even on this play, you really got a feel for that motor and effort and energy and hustle and all that fun stuff. Just the constant activity level. Oh man.
Good thing we're not watching film on number 4.
Yeah. Other than Dexter Hill, who I believe was in next year's class, I'm not sure anyone in Michigan's secondary is going to be a day 2 or better player. At best.
I see.
Of course, neither is this Michigan State quarterback.
Oh no. I think he lost. I think he got benched this season. If he didn't get benched, he got replaced in the offseason.
So this is a perfect example of when activity level, motor effort, hustle, energy, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to keep using multiple words. Really comes into play because you really have that closing speed and that burst and that recovery speed, and you really see how fast he catches up to the QB.
Yeah, it really rushes the QB's decision making time.
Oh, he tried to split. I like the idea. Flashback to the Minnesota play, I think it was. Versus Detroit. I think it was Minnesota. Was it Tampa Bay or Minnesota? Oh, it was Tampa Bay. Flashback to the Lions Bucks game. Watch the corners. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
I didn't watch the Bucks game. I was at my dad's.
Daniel, do you remember that play? The touchdown?
Not quite.
Okay, so there was a play, I forgot who it was a Lions cornerback, where he ended up, he was playing off coverage versus the Bucks, and he ended up crashing down, and actually it might have been a safety, and the corner was in the flat. And then what happened was the two defenders hit each other, and the wide receiver had like a wide open path for a touchdown.
Oh, I saw that on replay. Now that I think of it.
This play reminds me exactly, obviously it didn't end in a touchdown, but like the same principle. Where they just like both go for the hit and neither one actually makes the tackle.
I see.
It was the play on the boundary, Keelan.
Yeah. It's coming back to me.
And yeah, anyways, going back to the Kwity Paye thing.
Is that him though?
That is him on the left tackle. Yeah.
You sure?
Oh, no,
No,
that's Jordan Glasgow. I thought it was. Good catch.
yeah, the numbers look similar. I see a one, but yeah, no.
One thing that I think is kind of underrated about Paye, and I think Daniel's talked about this a couple times, and it might have been Keelan, is the anchor. And you're really going to see how slow he is with his jump snap and his snap time on this play. Specifically compared to Aiden, who also is not the greatest at getting off, but a lot better than Kwity Paye is. Aiden Hutchinson has almost got hands to the pads. Kwity Paye is not even off the ground. His hand is still 100% in the dirt. The ball is in the quarterback's hand at this point. He is actually very, very late getting off the snap. So naturally, he's at a little bit of a disadvantage here in terms of positioning, leverage, all that kind of thing. But what he does is he has the strength, the physical, and more importantly, the core strength to be able to recover here. And he's getting doubled, it looks like. Or it's at least a 2-on-2.
Yeah.
And he's not really getting moved back. They're getting hands to the face. And then finally, at the very end of this, you finally start to see some drive. But by then, the play's already been made.
Number 4, bro.
Yeah, the jump snap is another thing that you'd like to see him work. Really? The jump snap is another thing that you'd really like to see him work on. That's like... I'm not mad at the rep, by the way. I'm mad at the corner. Anyway, back to Kwity Paye. The jump snap is something that you'd really like to see him work on because he has the first step in the burst and the acceleration and the quickness and the change of direction and the agility and all the other words that kind of fit with that from the athletic side. You really just want to get him watching the ball at the snap so that he gets off. And that'll also help him either get around the end quicker, it'll help him get more build-up speed, specifically inside, and really just aid him even more than he already has displayed, and getting to the quarterback a little bit quicker.
Right. I don't even think that's an athleticism thing.
It's not.
To me,
It's all
it's
mental.
more. It's a mental.
Also, now that it's really relevant, but shout out to Aiden Hutchinson for lining like half his body up over the neutral zone on a 3rd and 4. And I don't think they called it either. Yeah, throw the receiver down to the ground. That's not going to get called. Well, actually, in that particular case, they didn't. So, at least in this situation, they're actually playing him wide 9 because it's a 3rd and 8. So, there's a little bit less pressure on him.
Also, number 12 drops back into a spiral, so.
Sure, I think that's Josh Ross, if I recall. That's probably the biggest reason. But just as a general note, that is something that we have seen be ineffective in terms of usage, is because it really frees up both of those lanes in this case. But once you pay, it frees up that lane. That wasn't bad. And the other element to this too is, like I said, in this particular scheme, he's two-gapping a pretty good portion of the time. So they're definitely putting quite a bit on his plate in terms of challenging him to effectively play multiple gaps in multiple positions and everything else, moving him up and down the line, moving him from 0 to 1 to 3 to 7 to 5 to 9 on the last play, to left side to right side. So he's lined up at all, 10 positions on the defensive line?
Pretty much.
Left 7, right 7, left 5, right 5, left 3, right 3, left 1, right 1, 1, 3, 5, 7. Yeah, so we've seen him line up at all 10 positions on the defensive line. Outside of 0, but I'm going to consider 0 and 1 both interior defensive tackles. Are you guys not hearing that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a little bit better. It's like a really loud buzzing noise.
Yeah. It's like an air conditioner.
I'm not hearing anything.
That's really weird. What am I watching? Oh, okay, we're watching the one on the right.
Oh, it went away. Sorry.
Oh my. This cornerback group, man. I don't know who's responsible for recruiting corners, but like we need to get on that ASAP, please.
Have they been fired? I mean, that defensive staff's been, most of it's been fired, right?
I know Don Brown was. I don't know about any of the assistants.
Well, a few assistants have been hired by Michigan, so I assume they're the people who preceded them were obviously fired.
Okay, so not relevant to Kwity Paye, but just for fun. Watch number 16. Okay, he's gonna be the bottom corner. This guy here on the right receiver.
Very cool.
Get beat on the route and then gets beat in run defense.
So he's actually at the start. He's not really getting beat by the route because this is a screen pass by design. So and he's playing in the flat zone. So he's technically doing the right thing from a coverage element. But what ends up happening is he's not able to get to the receiver. Well, I shouldn't say receiver. He's not able to get to the pass catcher because he gets eliminated by the block. And then the inability to even fight through the block, let alone like shed and tackle and the finish of the play. But I don't even necessarily want to call it effort, but in a way it is effort. Like I feel bad calling that out, but like the dude literally just got pushed all the way into the boundary. Oh. And then Daniel, you've called out number 4 a few times.
Yep. Straight line explosive.
So,
all right.
Daniel, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on Kwity Paye?
I think that he's a top 10 prospect. I think that he's really, really excellent with his hands, knows what he's doing, can convert speed to power, has fantastic athletic traits, can anchor, struggles with positioning in the run game. But I think that he's pretty much the full package as an edge rusher.
Yeah, for sure. Keelan, what do you have?
Yeah, pretty much. I really, really loved his pass rush. His hand usage was elite. Like, just gonna keep emphasizing that Chase Young comparison from a pass rush standpoint. I thought he was really good in that way. His run defense needs help. Obviously, his get off or off the line of scrimmage can be improved with a proper coaching staff, a proper D-line coach, a proper defensive coordinator. So that, all in all, I'm a fan, and I'm really excited to see what team he goes to. And I wouldn't mind if the Lions don't go quarterback. I wouldn't mind him being the pick at 7 personally.
Interesting. All right. So, with that in mind, I'm just going to quickly go over some of my grades and notes here that I'm going to be inputting. I'm not going to waste the time loading up the other pages and stuff, especially with the issues we've already had. So I'm just going to put them in on my tablet. So, concerns, I don't really have any. Might be a little bit undersized for defensive tackle, but I'm going to call him an edge rusher. And 270 is respectable size for an edge rusher. No real issues with athleticism, character, medical. Playbook, if anything, is the opposite. He was in too complex a system. Not really a special teams guy, no mental toughness. Obviously, if anything, needs opposite, where he's a little bit too over aggressive, and definitely not undersized. So, no real issues there. I will point an L by him for a potential Lions target, but that's it. Player comparison. This is pretty interesting. I'm actually gonna have to go back and look at my edge rush list here. What do you guys think about Danielle Hunter?
Interesting. Yeah, Danielle Hunter works. I'm probably gonna stick with the Chase Young comp I've been preaching to the choir. Obviously, without the run defense, but I think as a pass rusher, where he's what he's best at is really similar to Chase Young. So that's my comp for him. But Danielle Hunter works.
Daniel?
Yeah, I think that Hunter's a good comparison. My personal comparison is Vicky Ansah.
All right.
But I think all of these are pretty good comparisons. So
nice. So biggest strength for me is probably going to be those mental. Well, I shouldn't say mental traits. But the motor and consistency. And the biggest weakness is going to be gap integrity, as we talked about a few times already. I spelled integrity, right? Floor and ceiling. I'm going to go with... You go.
Oh, sorry. I was going to personally say I'm going to do a medium floor, high ceiling.
I'm actually going to go low floor, high ceiling, because I don't consider a one down pass rusher to be a very high floor.
Fair enough,
so
yeah.
if he gets stuck in a rotational pass rushing role where he never really develops that run element, I would have to say that he would probably end up being considered a bust, especially if he goes top 15.
Right.
With that in mind, bust potential for me is going to be 35%, so roughly a third. Games we watched were Minnesota first in part 1, Penn State, and Michigan State. Okay, so with that in mind, on to grades. For me, run defense is going to be a... I don't know whether to go... I'll go with an 18.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I don't know whether I wanted to go 17 or 18.
Yeah.
But I feel like 18 is fair. That's a C grade.
I was having that same kind of battle, so I'm glad we're on the same page there.
personally, I would go a little higher, like 20, just because I think that he has a willingness to be a good run defender, and he has physical traits to be a really good run defender.
Yeah, so the physical...
So like, to me, like, just get the technique sorted out. And I trust my D-line coach to do that.
Yeah, so for me, the physical elements are going to be showing up in the athleticism side, and the willingness elements are going to show up in the mental side.
Yep.
So that's going to be accounting for a little bit later on. Pass rushing wise, I like him quite a bit. I'm going to have a 23, which is a game minus. athleticism side, also feel pretty comfortable with the 23 there as well. Actually, an A minus. And that also includes bend, which is the only reason he's not even higher. So 468. And then finally, we've got the mental side, which is going to be a 25. Perfect score, A+.
The only reason I didn't give him a 25 there is because of the get off.
Oh, yeah, I kind of took away from that with athleticism too, in a way.
Fair enough.
As well as pass
I
rushing.
gave him a 24 in both of those. I gave him a 24 in all three, and 3 traits and 18 in run defense.
Okay, so I think that's one lower than mine is going to end up being. Because I went 18, 23, 23, and 25.
Yeah.
So one sentence summary. Elite physical and mental tools with high ceiling with refinement. Sounds about right to you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. So while I calculate my scores, Daniel, you haven't really talked a whole lot during the grade process, so I'll let you go over your thoughts and grades and your opinion on what you just watched from that side of things. Where you would project him and where you would take him. Daniel?
Oh, for me, I would take him top 10. Probably latter half of the top 10. Maybe top 12-ish if I'm in a position whereby I don't really need a rusher. But to me, like, this dude is the edge prospect, far and above Rousseau for me. And so, like, this is the guy to get if you need an edge rusher.
Interesting. I actually have Gregory Rousseau 3 points higher. I have Rousseau as a borderline first. And I have Kwity Paye, so Rousseau is a 92 for me. And I have Kwity Paye at 89.
Interesting. I have Paye at a 90 and Rousseau at an 88.
The big difference for me, obviously, was the run D. I gave Rousseau a 24 in run defense compared to Paye's 18. Whereas I gave Paye a higher score in mentals and a slightly higher score in athleticism. So Paye a little bit better pass rushing, but I had Rousseau quite a bit better on the run defense side. More well-rounded.
Overall, I think you're underrating the amount of potential for projectable growth for Paye in terms of your grading. Okay.
Sorry. I was just gonna hop in for a second. I have Paye as a technically, basically a tier 2 prospect, which would technically be right around a second round grade. But to me, banking on his upside, I would strongly consider picking him top 15, despite what my board says. Just strictly like banking on the upside, which I think he'll develop. I think he'll develop his run defense, but I can't rightfully give him a 23 or 24 in run defense based on the film that we've watched this past hour or two or whatever.
Yeah, and for me, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the board ends up shaking up once we get to some of these other guys too. Because, like, I just specifically, we still have Joseph Assigning Zizou Jalari to watch. Amongst others,
Phillips.
Carlos Basham I've heard some pretty good things about too. And then we have the corners for the most part to watch. I haven't watched Sertain yet, for example. I'm going to do a video on him eventually. Haven't watched any safeties yet. Haven't watched any defensive linemen, including Barmore and Tufele yet. So it'll be more so interesting for me to kind of see how he compares to some of the other prospects. Because I have a very strong feeling that 92 pluses are not going to be my top 32. That's just the way it works out. So I feel pretty comfortable saying that I'm going to have Paye as a first round value, which is interesting because I normally go harsher on Michigan players just by nature of them being Michigan players. Being a Michigan fan who watches more of their games than a lot of other people do, sees a lot more of their snaps, a lot more of their weaknesses, a lot more of their reps, and all of those things. So there's an element of negativity and preconceived bias and notion there, just generally speaking. But I do think it'll be very fascinating to see how he compares grade-wise to some of the other borderline players, especially knowing how deep this wide receiver class is. I have 3 wide receivers that are already in the 93 plus range, and I have 4 linebackers in the 92 plus range this year already. So just kind of being able to compare him to some of those other position groups, as well as the 2 guys that we get to watch, plus at least 2 guys that we get to watch at the edge spots.
Right.
So anything else from you guys before we wrap this one up?
Nope. Actually, I do have a question for you, though. I'm gonna play that Uno reverse card from what usually happens. What would your thoughts be if, based on what you know about the current scheme that the Lions are gonna bring with defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, what do you think about him to the Lions? Whether that's pick 7 or, a pick we get in the Matthew Stafford trade, whether it be Washington football team or the Colts or whatever.
So I like him a lot more, obviously, with the Stafford pick, because that's probably about where he's going to be just value-wise for me.
Right.
So from that element, from the value side, and from the grade side, both, I like him a lot more in that teens range to 20s range.
Yeah.
7 would be tough. If he were like actually the pick, I would be able to buy in on it. Because at this point, I'm probably going to be able to buy in on almost every pick that we could possibly make outside of an offensive lineman.
Right.
I really don't want an offensive lineman this year, specifically at 7.
Right.
So, with the exception of offensive line, I'm probably going to buy into whoever we end up picking at 7, unless they're like way off the board. But
yeah, I don't think we're going to be pulling a Seahawks, so
yeah,
hopefully,
I feel pretty comfortable that I'm going to like who we end up with, whether, I should say, with our highest pick. Because obviously there's potential for a trade up for a quarterback or moving down to 10 or whatever if all the quarterbacks are gone, staying in the top 10, whatever it ends up being. So I'll say I feel pretty comfortable with who we're going to end up with our highest pick. So like if we took him, I wouldn't like necessarily be mad or upset, I guess is what I'm trying to hint at.
Yeah.
Would he be my favorite guy? No. I think we have other holes to fill that are a little bit bigger than the edge spot right now. For example, I would probably take Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah over him. I would probably take I don't want to say a safety. I would definitely take one of the wide receivers over him. I would obviously take a quarterback over him, not knowing where we're at right now. And then, of course, what we talked about in our podcast on Tuesday, I would also consider taking Kyle Pitts over him, too. Just to kind of round out that offensive side. The biggest question mark for me regarding the edge position in Detroit is what's going to end up happening with Romeo. Because if Romeo comes back, obviously we're almost certainly keeping Trey Flowers at least another year, unless someone offers a very good trade piece for him, which I don't see happening right now.
The only chance we're trading him is if we get good value and they agree to eat some of his cap.
Well, they would eat some of his cap because it's a trade. Just that's how trades work.
True.
So, yeah, if we were to be able to acquire, I would say like a second or better, it would probably be reasonable. In terms of trying to be fair, it's kind of hard for me to gauge value, but anyway, unless it's like something were to happen where we lose either Trey or we don't retain Romeo, which I think it's actually possible, if not likely, that we do lose Romeo Okwara.
Yeah. We're probably gonna at least let him test the market because I do think he'll think he's. Well, I mean, he had a really good breakout year this year,
Yep.
so it's either we tag him or we let him test the market and see what he gets. Because I think a team that has some cap is going to be willing to pay him in the double digits based on the season he had this year.
Yeah. So at that point, it becomes okay. How much is Kwity Paye going to improve our second edge spot, assuming of course we keep Trey, over Julian Okwara, Austin Bryant, and whoever the other edge is?
I don't know.
It's not
I think
someone that's
it.
on the roster right now. I'm just saying whoever it ends up becoming. What is the difference between Paye and the rest of that group? And is that difference, the difference between Paye and those guys, worth the difference between Paye and, say, for example, Jalen Waddle, who could be upgrading Quintus Cephas, who could be upgrading Geronimo Allison, who could be upgrading.
Muhammad Sanu.
I don't think we bring back Sanu,
I'm-
but yeah.
True.
I mean, like to me at least, you take like if you think that this guy's going to be a legit edge rusher in the league for 3 downs, I think, which I think, frankly, he'll be eventually. Then I don't have any qualms about taking that at 7 at all.
Sorry.
So I mean, like, yeah, you could take Waddle. I like Waddle a lot for sure. But like, I'm not gonna get upset at all if this is the pick.
Yep.
I think that Paye is a phenomenal talent, and I think that he has shown me a lot in these games, and I think that his mistakes are correctable. So, like, for me, I'm very in on Paye as a prospect, and I think that he would be a perfectly suitable pick for the Lions, frankly.
My main issue with bringing Paye in, and this isn't really an issue with him in particular, I don't expect him to be all that good right off the bat. I expect him to struggle, especially there's probably not going to be any rookie minicamp or preseason or any of that stuff. So he's going to struggle. And I just don't want to listen to Lions fans thinking he's a bust again.
I mean, okay, so the counter to that is that that's going to happen with basically anyone that we could possibly draft at this point.
That's true.
So
Yeah,
I'm not going to throw that out. I mean, unless we like do something that's kind of surprising and we nail the pick, or it's like a quarterback who is kind of like, okay, this is the guy that we're going to build around in 2 or 3 years. I think fans will be a little bit more understanding that he's not the guy that's going to take us year 1 and okay, Stafford's gone, we're rebuilding. Like, this is the guy who's going to be our QB in 2 or 3 years type deal, like a Wilson, or even more so a Trey Lance. I feel like there would be a little bit more open-mindedness on that end, but yeah, that's if you take a corner, if you take a safety, if you take a linebacker, especially top 10, if you take an offensive lineman, oh my goodness, that offensive lineman must be a huge upgrade over Vitae at guard. I don't even know if there's a guard worth a top 10 pick, let alone a guard who's going to upgrade Vitae that much at this point.
I mean, if you want to project Slater as a guard, which some people are, that's an upgrade over Vitae, but that's about it.
Are you going to take Slater to play right guard, number 7?
Well, I'm not personally, but
I mean,
and
I'm just looking at this realistic. And if you are, he literally better be an All-Pro. I mean, Quentin Nelson went 8th or 9th, didn't he?
5th.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah, still, you're taking a guy to be that type of talent if you're taking a guard at 7, especially with all the holes on the roster right now. Oof, that's a very tough sell. And even a tight end, like if we were to take Pitts, I think that there's a little bit more close-mindedness about that spot too. But yeah, I feel like if we go wide receiver or quarterback, there's a little bit more willingness to be open-minded.
Right.
Just because of the nature that, I think part of that is where we are right now too. And maybe in 2 months we'll say something completely different after free agency, but the wide receiver room right now is not good. And the quarterback room right now is a significant question mark with Stafford pending traded. So I think that there's a little bit more open-mindedness when it comes to the wide receiver and quarterback positions and what the future could look like, and the willingness to be like, okay, what is a good season for a wide receiver 2 as a rookie with a new quarterback and a new system?
Right.
But otherwise, I think
All
you're
right.
going to get that with running back, with tight end, with offensive line, with defensive line, with linebacker, with corner, with safety, with kicker, with punter, with anything else. So is that all that you guys have for this one? Did that answer your question, Keelan?
Dude, Keelan drop off.
He must have. Okay, so
All right.
is that all you got, Daniel?
Yep.
Sweet. With that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, learned a thing or two along the way. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this over the course of the next coming days, weeks, and months ahead. I actually don't know if we're going to post the other one because this one actually worked out pretty good. So I may just completely delete the Minnesota game. Oh well. And chalk that up to losses. But with that said, definitely feel free to check out some of the other videos that we have up on the channel and going up on the channel over the course of the coming months ahead as we enter draft season. With that said, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Stay safe and peace out.